Hey guys, it's Moose. This is 6 weird horror films you may have not seen yet. Overbloated title. But I wanted to talk about a few films that I really enjoy and that I've only really discovered in the past couple of years or so. And this is definitely not a list for the expert horror aficionado, because you have definitely seen all of these films before. This is definitely a video for someone who wants to expand their horizons and maybe look at some more different films, maybe some films that don't follow a traditional 3-act structure, or maybe films that are just balls to the walls weird. Obviously all this is my own opinion. You may completely disagree with some of the stuff I'm saying, and I'd absolutely love to know what you guys think in the comments. And if you have any differing opinions, discussion about horror film is one of my favourite things, so feel free to disagree with me. Just keep it civil. But it's gonna get weird, guys. It's gonna get real weird.
Such easy prey.
From Beyond is the 1986 Stuart Gordon film based off a H.P. Lovecraft short story of the same name. It stars Ken Foree and Jeffrey Combs from other various beautiful films like Reanimator, which Stuart Gordon has also directed. The movie is about a scientist developing a machine called the Resonator, which lets you kind of perceive beyond what human perception is, and you see these little spermy fellas in the sky, and they make you do weird things, and it's weird. The movie kind of follows like a quite generic 3-act structure, but it does have some incredibly zany special effects in it, and there's a weird bit with Jeffrey Combs having a little fella come out of his brain called the pineal gland. Does this description of this film make you want to watch it? I hope it does, because I'm trying to keep it vague, guys, so it doesn't spoil it for you. This movie is incredibly well lit. It's incredibly pink. Just how like Reanimator is incredibly green film, to me this is a very pink film. The lighting is very, very pink, offset with blue and purples. It's really awesome looking. The acting is really great too, and it's played quite straight despite the subject matter. Stuart Gordon is a massive lover of combining sex and horror in this most disgusting, disturbing way, and this Resonator makes you horny. For the longest time I thought this film was directed by David Cronenberg, because the special effects were how I thought David Cronenberg's body horror kind of special effects that he's most known for were in this film. But I slowly come to realise that David Cronenberg does have those gross special effects, but they're not always featured in his films in the way you think they are. But this movie is balls to the wall, is maximum disgustingness near the end. There's the guy gets all goopy. It's nice, it's nice. Eraserhead is the 1977 film by David Lynch. You probably know David Lynch mostly from Twin Peaks, but if you've seen a lot of his other films, you know they do get a bit artsy and a bit weird. He is an artist in real life, so his films do have a bit of like an art house glaze to them, but they don't follow like generic movie structures. This one's also in black and white. It's probably the most scary film I've watched, and I would argue, I'd probably say a lot of people would disagree with me. There's something about this film that scares the shit out of me. It's about a father who has had a newly born baby and the kind of the fears and anxieties around that. And I know David Lynch originally, that's not what his forefront of, that's not what he thought that he wanted to make the film about, but it kind of came out like that. And it has one of the most disgusting movie props in it I have ever seen in my life. And if you do know about horror and you do know about Eraserhead, you know I'm talking about the baby in it. But this movie has as well as the dark subject matter, it has really good comedic timing as well. I don't know how deliberate it is, but some of the parts of the film make me want to laugh so much. And it kind of does a great job of juxtaposing the horror and the comedy. But the movie does have a very strong, dreamy, floating quality to it. And it makes you feel very claustrophobic. I would love to see this film in the cinema. It'd be a fantastic cinema film because the atmospheric music, oh, it's not really music, it's more like a score, like an atmospheric score. It's very metallic sounding, lots of bleakness. But I definitely recommend this film. You definitely have to watch it with a bit more of an open mind. I kind of knew what I was going into when I first watched it because I had seen other David Lynch films and I kind of knew about him in general. So I knew it was going to be an odd experience, but it's an incredibly interesting film. And I think it's quite a big landmark for horror cinema. I actually really don't think people talk about this film enough. I know it's a very big cult classic, but I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't think people, it's so horrible. It's such a scary film. It's so bleak. It's so, you really do feel for the main character. You feel very anxious, but there's some like really strange creative bits in it as well which don't make any sense with the rest of the film, which kind of add to this dreamlike quality. It's really good. Check it out. Basketcase is the 1982 Frank Henenlotter movie. He also did Brain Damage and a movie called Frankenhooker, which I've never seen but I would love to see. Basketcase is a bad film. It's not good. It's not good really for any reason other than it's incredibly entertaining. It's about this dude and his little fella friend Belial, which is his brother. And he's a cutie and he lives in a basket case. It's adorable. It's probably the cutest film ever, but if you're one of those people that love bad films and love bad horror, especially, you know, so bad it's good, blah 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 blah, but this is really, you should really watch this. It has some very weird scenes in it. The special effects are not great, but that also kind of ties into the weirdness of the film. There's some really good stop motion effects. And there's a few really effective jump scares in it as well. And the film actually really is like a really good capture of this era in the 80s, because this was so low budget. They filmed literally on the streets of New York, probably didn't get a permit for filming, probably didn't ask anyone if they wanted to be in the film, but it is so gross. It is disgusting. Like, from the apartment he lives in to the streets, they really do capture really gross, you know, run down 1980s New York, which is really funny to say that about this little weird film. Feels like it has a little bit of time capsuled history into it. It's really cool. I don't really have a lot else to say about this film. It's a great watch to watch just to have, you know, to have like a bit of a drink and just not take seriously. And I feel like, again, with the special effects, they are not fantastic, but I feel like they tried. I feel like they tried their hardest. It's adorable and I love him and I love Belial. He's the cutest little fella. Videodrome is the 1983 David Cronenberg film. Videodrome stars James Woods as a small-time channel producer, and he mostly shows you know, softcore porn and violent films, and he stumbles across this channel that's being pirated by his cohort, and it's essentially snuff film.
It's just torture and murder. No plot, no characters, very, very realistic.
But he thinks it's acting, and he wants that for his channel. And there's something about found footage, like snuff film, like ported from, you know, wherever, that is absolutely horrifying to me. I can't really say much about this film. I really don't want to spoil it for someone who hasn't watched it before. It's definitely a horror film, but it leans much more into the sci-fi realm, but it has this great commentary on how media is portrayed and how people think we're blurring the line too much between real life and fakery, and how that affects the mind. It's so good, and this is what I mean by David Cronenberg. Like, I feel like his films are most well known for his body horror. Like, you think of that bit in, you know, Rick and Morty where it's like David Cronenberg world, whatever, but I've seen like a couple of his films, like a little handful of his films, and they seem to have a slightly deeper plot than you think they would have to begin with. Videodrome is the movie I've seen most recently. It's the most fresh in my mind, and I'm so annoyed I didn't watch it sooner. It is so good, and I feel like it's incredibly underrated. I feel like the ending is maybe a bit too abrupt for some people, so maybe that feels like people don't feel like it's the most perfect film, but it's so good. It's also a perfect time capsule of when VHS was the big thing, and when, you know, like very mechanical video systems were a thing. It feels like a completely, almost a different time nowadays. And I grew up with VHS and I grew up with CRT television, so, but it feels like an age away, and it's such a clever medium to tell a horror story through, or like a sci-fi story through, because it feels more realistic. Nowadays when we have like computers, internet, it feels a lot less realistic. I don't know what it is about it. It just feels a bit more fake. But this movie really encapsulates that so well, and it has like these great, again, mixing the sex and the horror tones together, really create for like an uncomfortable viewing experience. Special effects are phenomenal. They are so good. I watched this in HD, and like I could tell it's not real, but they just look so much better than any kind of CGI would have made at this time. It's so smart the way they do a lot of the effects. But yeah, this movie hit me on like a deeper level. It really did, especially about all the torture snuff film stuff. It's really cool and really gross, and works very effectively for the type of film that it is. So check Videodrome out.
For Bill Whitney,
I've never been paranoid.
fear plays a large part in family life.
I feel like something's gonna happen. And if I scratch the surface, there'll be something terrible underneath.
He's afraid his sister
Could you zip me up, Billy?
is not what she seems.
God, Bill, what's the matter with you?
Society. Oh, Society. Oh no. Society is the 1989 Brian Yuzna film, and there is a lot of similarities between this and From Beyond, especially in the special effects area. But Brian Yuzna was the producer of Reanimator, so Brian Yuzna and Stuart Gordon are kind of intermingled a little bit, so a lot of their films do feel a bit similar. But Society is like on a whole different train of wild. Society is about a boy in this kind of upper class rich family, and he does not fit in, and he finds all these weird little clues, and he's talking to his therapist, and you can't quite trust his therapist. And this probably has one of the strangest third acts I've ever seen in my life. So I'm just going to show you the DVD case. Does that make you want to watch it? Sure does me. I don't know what to say about this film. It's okay. It's an okay film. It's not the greatest film I've seen in my life. It's incredibly entertaining, and some of the acting in it is a bit weird. There's a few strange choices I don't quite understand in it, but the third act is just insane. I have seen a lot of clips from this film and a lot of still images from this film. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? So I'm going to show you this picture as well. Does this make you want to watch Society? I hope it does. It's entertaining. But it kind of feels like a straight up showcase of how weird can we make the special effects in this film. How far can we go it? But at the same time, it's not a gory film, it's not a bloody film, it's not even necessarily a violent film. So fun to watch the family, guys.
I like this car.
Yeah, it looks nice, but there's a dog on corners.
Yeah?
Yeah, that'll be suiting Sarah.
It's a bit over the top for a meeting, isn't it?
Do you know who's in there? Because I fucking don't.
This is a 2011 Ben Wheatley film about hitmen, and it is more along the lines of a crime thriller than it is a horror, but I would definitely describe it as a horror film. I have only seen this film once, and probably in the best and worst situation possible. It was at a cinema which I absolutely love called the Prince Charles Cinema in London, and they do a lot of overnight horror movie marathons or movie marathons. I try to go to one at least once a year. I'm hoping we can do one this year, but it's probably unlikely. But they do these horror film or movie marathons that last from like 9 at night and end at like 8 the next day, and they will just show like a hodgepodge of random films. And they do like Lord of the Rings extended trilogy marathons as well, which is insane. I don't know how anyone does that. But me and my boyfriend went to a modern horror film one. I had like a really good lineup, but Kill List was the only one I didn't know anything about, and I think it was one of the last films, so I was exhausted. I wanted to sleep, I wanted to go home, but I really wanted to watch this film because I'd never seen it before, so I watched this film half asleep. This film is amazing. Someone described it as the Wicker Man mixed with a Serbian film, which, if you know a Serbian film, I've never seen it, I don't want to see it, but it's that incredibly gory, gross, horrible film. But this is a movie about hitmen who fucked up their last job and are trying to do another job this year, and it kind of ends up into a situation, you know, where weird stuff happens. But it is a British film, and so it has that good quality British grit that I enjoy in my films, and it's quite funny. It's quite dry humour, and it's quite a long film as well, but there are loads of very tense scenes in it.
You come with recommendations.
They're well earned.
Good. Necessary.
Oh.
It's all right.
This is probably the most straight structured film on this list, but it has a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of like talking, heavy, tense scenes. This is probably not the weirdest one on my list too, but it does have extremely good tension, and I really get this like horrible dread while watching it. It really does a good effective dread feeling, and it has some very strange things going on in it. It definitely has, even though it has like a very structured thing, it does have like a very dream-like, a bit like Eraserhead, where it has a very dream-like flow to it, And the cinematography in this film is absolutely stunning. It is so beautiful. Then there's a scene where he goes into like he's trying to like bust a guy, and he goes into this really disgusting like filmmaking place. It's so gross. And I don't know if they dressed it to look that gross or they just found it and shot it. It's filthy. But I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this film. I feel like this film is fantastic and really, really great, and it's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely worth a watch if you have the time to sit and have a think and, you know, watch it with your full attention. So yeah, kill list, you guys. Thanks so much guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. This was kind of a new venture for me because I really do love film and I really do love horror. If I were to retake all of my education years, I would do media, I would do filmmaking. I think it's a really interesting subject and it's something I'm very passionate about. But thank you so much for watching. You can follow me at Mooseham on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to subscribe, feel free to leave me a comment, feel free to leave me a like, and let me know your thoughts below. Do you have any suggestions for me? Any weird films that you've seen recently that you think I would really enjoy based on this list? Or what are your thoughts about any of these films? I would love it. I would love to know if you guys watch any of these films I suggested. And take care, you guys. Remember, horror is a good distraction from the horror that's happening at the moment. Take care. Bye, guys.